Greetings. This is Justin Allen with the Elite Nurse Practitioner. Welcome to the Elite Nurse Practitioner Show, podcast dedicated to nurse practitioner entrepreneurism and achieving financial freedom, where I talk directly with nurse practitioners who need help. Listen up, our market is saturated. Jobs can be scarce. We are underpaid. We are undervalued. We are taken advantage of by the sharks within the healthcare system, and frankly, screw that. I'm sick of it, and it's time for a change. And listen, I'm here to help make that happen. We are powerful. We can forge a path where we are in control of our career and ultimately our financial and personal well-being. You do not need to submit to healthcare administrators and your doctor overlords. You do not have to take a measly salary. You do not have to work 50 to 60 hours a week. There is a different way, and I'm here to show you that path. This podcast is raw and unfiltered. I have not talked to the nurse practitioners in this podcast prior to the call outside of an email exchange to schedule the episode. What you're about to listen to is a consultation session between a nurse practitioner and myself. It is real, it is unscripted, it is unplanned, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Anything and everything can happen during our conversation. The nurse practitioners in these episodes are struggling with an issue in their professional or financial life, and they have reached out to me for help. My goal is to help the nurse practitioner with actionable advice that will enhance and improve their professional, business, and financial life. My other goal is to hopefully help my nurse practitioner sisters and brothers build a more productive, powerful, and free life. So I hope the content and information within these podcast episodes does just that. All right, onto the episode. Hello, everyone. Today we will be talking to Amanda. Amanda is a family nurse practitioner and she practices out of Washington State. She currently operates her own functional medicine practice and has recently added aesthetics as a service line to it. She is needing help with time management and finding a work-life balance as her business is doing well, but she is lacking time to enjoy and live life. Hey, Amanda, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. No, thanks for hopping on here. I appreciate your time. So let's just jump right into this, kind of bring me up to speed with where you're at. So how long have you been a nurse practitioner for? How long have you been operating this business? Maybe your background as a business owner, as a nurse practitioner, that sort of thing.
Sure. I've been a nurse practitioner for about 2.5 years, background in cardiology. I was an open heart nurse, all that kind of stuff, ICU, at bedside. Before I was a nurse, I owned a trucking company for about 11 years. So I feel like I'm pretty good in terms of like running the business. It's just the combination of both seeing patients and running a business that is creating this difficulty for me. And, just this week I said, I see now why providers have an office manager because, like my front desk girl came in, the printer isn't working. And I'm like, dude, figure it out. Like, I can't. So that's kind of where I'm at. So at any rate, I've had this practice for about 1.5 years. I started it as a side gig doing hormones, pellet injections, that kind of thing. And quickly realized that I did not want to keep prescribing statins, that just was not where my heart was at. And so in January of last year, I went full time with this and introduced more of a functional medicine kind of process, so I'm looking at the whole person instead of just the hormones. So I do a lot of gut health. I prescribe a lot of low dose naltrexone, really trying to get to the source of what's going on with people. In April, I took on a partner who is an RN that I went to nursing school with, and she does all of the aesthetics in terms of injectables. And so she's awesome. She totally runs with that. And I've known her for so long. We've worked bedside many, many times, and she's extremely detail oriented. And that part is just like, got it unlocked. She's good. And then at the beginning of January, so just, a couple weeks ago, I hired our patient services experience manager, which, our front desk person, to just kind of answer the phones and all that, because we were doing all of that ourselves. And so just bringing her up to speed with how to check patients in. We are not cheap. And so I expect a certain level of, luxury with my patients. So, just kind of trying to culture her into that takes time. And then we also launched at the same time aesthetics in the terms of facials, peels, lashes, all of that. I hired a master esthetician. And so my struggle is, like I said, finding time to see patients, chart on patients, do the things I need to do, run the business, and then putting in these new service lines the world of aesthetics is not my world. And, so I'm having to learn so much and meet with all these various sales reps. It's all very, very time consuming. I get to the clinic. I see my first patient at 10. I get to the clinic about 8:30. I typically do not leave here till 9:30 at night. And I am never finished working when I leave. I'm just exhausted. And I work all weekend. And I've been doing this for like 3 months. And I'm like, I cannot keep this up. I have to stop.
Yeah, my goodness. How many hours a week are you working?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, that's like at least 12, 13 a day. So what would that be?
Shoot.
90? I mean, I try to not think about that, to tell you the truth.
Are you taking the weekends off?
No, I come in on the weekends, and that's when I do. So like today, I'm 2 days behind in my charting right now. So what I do, I've just gotten more like, I call in whatever meds they're going to have. I use full script for their supplements. I do that. I do what's absolutely necessary. And then on the weekends, I just like catch up with all their charting, but I don't like it because I miss the nuance of what they said to me. I like to chart right after I saw them.
Right.
Because, I take detailed notes, but that's not the same as having that conversation fresh in my mind. So then on the weekends, I'm doing all of that stuff. I'm charting, and at the same time, the stuff I do is now stuff that we learned in school. And so, I'm learning the whole world of gut bio, which, I knew nothing about. So I'm reading all the time, taking, webinars, and it's just, that's what I do all the time.
Let me ask you this. So are you working this much, seeing this many patients and falling behind and stuff? Is it because are you trying to crank out as many patients as possible to make as much money as possible? Or are you just doing so much busy bullshit work all the time that you're not really seeing as many patients as you would like?
The number of patients is definitely increasing. In April, we were like at 4,000 a month, so almost virtually nothing. And then now we're doing about $35,000 to $40,000 a month. So we've significantly increased our patient. And no, I do not try to cram as many patients. My initial consultation with them is an hour long, and I am incredibly detailed. Then my follow-ups are all 30s. I try to allow myself plenty of time to really get to know them. So it's not, that is time consuming, yes, but really it's taking meetings with product reps. It's learning, just all the different things that have to go. But then, yes, there's just busy work bullshit that I'm doing, like the copier isn't working or the toner cartridge, or, I'm trying to get credentialed with Medicare just because I live in an environment. I did not want to take insurance at all, but I live in the San Juan Islands, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, a huge retirement population. Many of my patients are 65 or slightly over, and they're just all asking for Medicare. And so trying to do that is just, that's tough.
Well, I'm going to stop you right there. Okay. You're already, you're making $40,000 a month in revenue, right? Mm-hmm. You've been open for how long?
We've really been doing what we're doing now for about 9 months.
Okay. So $40,000 a month in revenue in 9 months, sticking with cash that's pretty impressive. When you bring on Medicare, you think you're stressed now? The charting rules, the billing, all of that stuff, you think you're stressed now? I think you need to reconsider that. You're doing well right now as cash.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's my opinion. You're stress killing yourself now. My goodness, when you get Medicare in there and you have to start dealing with all that CMS nonsense, dear Lord.
Yeah, because just even getting set up with them is overwhelming. Yeah, really have not wanted to. And I think you're right. Yeah.
Put the brakes on that. Seriously, you'll go crazy. I would not recommend that. The reimbursement's going to suck. You're going to be working more, making less. And then what's going to happen is then you're not going to have the time, you're not going to have the focus, the energy, to put into these patients who are paying you cash now that are happy and satisfied. Mm-hmm. Then those people will start getting angry, and it could potentially backfire on you, or you could continue doing the exact same thing you're doing now, or you could increase your revenue. That's a possibility as well, but you're probably going to work more and you're going crazy as is.
Right. I literally can't work any more than I already am.
Yeah, you can't do it. You got to find this balance where life's enjoyable too. Making money's great, but if you have no time to spend it, what the hell's the point?
Right. Yeah. And then coupled with this too is I'm in a long distance relationship. And so we see each other every 3 weeks, usually for 10 days, which I just told him this month. There's no possible way. I cannot leave the clinic for 10 days. It just it's just not a thing.
Now
So
your relationships are being affected. I mean, this is not good.
yeah, it's not good.
Now, one thing I do want you to remember here is that an old mentor of mine told me this. Anyone listening, really needs to listen to this, being an entrepreneur, business owner. 3 things. You can only have 2 out of the 3 of these. You can either have your business, family, or friends. Pick 2 out of the 3 because you can't have all 3. It's almost impossible.
Wow, that's harsh. But yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
It's true. He told me this when I first got started, and I didn't really believe him either, but it really is the truth. And after talking to lots and lots of other business owners, it's a pretty accurate statement for the most part. Now, you could have a 20-hour a week practice or whatever and keep it very simple and live more frugal and have friends and family, all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. But if you really, really, truly want to scale and grow a business, which is what it sounds like you want to do, you're going to have to pick 2 out of those 3, right? Like right now, how much family and friends do you even have? It sounds like you're putting a lot into just business alone.
Yeah, it really is. My kids are grown, and so they live here, and so I see them, not every day, obviously, but, I do make some time for them. But you're right. Even that, like, they all came over for dinner last night, and I was super resentful because now I'm even further behind in my charting. And I was just like, I kept thinking about this thing that we're going to talk about today. And I'm like, thank God I'm doing this, because I should not be resentful that my kids are coming to see me. Like, I should be really happy. They all moved to Washington because we moved here from Las Vegas. And so they all moved to Washington from Las Vegas to be closer to me. I should not be irritated that they want to have dinner with me because I want to chart.
And were you even present? Were you even in the moment?
Yeah, I'm pretty good about that. I practiced yoga for about 20 years. I meditate every morning. I start my day by meditating. I'm a big fan of Joe Dispenza. And so I am very, wherever I am, that's where I am, which is why, when I'm here, I'm like 100% here. And so it's good, except that I'm always here.
So then I want you to start, asking yourself a few questions, okay, in your business when you're going through this kind of stuff. Is this an income generating activity, or is this a, busy bullshit activity, basically, right? Mm-hmm. And so you as the business owner needs to be focused on income generating activities, right? You need to ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now going to increase my business's revenue? Is it going to increase my income? Is it going to increase my business, basically? Or is what I'm doing administrative, busy work that really is not going to result in any income, or it's not going to result in my business growing? Fixing a printer is busy work, right?
Yeah.
Scheduling patients in a computer is busy work. Going through credentialing paperwork with Medicare, that's busy work. Talking to product reps and stuff. I mean, how much time are you spending with that? Like, does that even result in much? Like, is that really a productive use of your time? I'm sure it could be, but is it really though?
We had to find out like what line are we going to use for our facials, so I had to meet with a certain number of them. Sure. But then, once you meet with one, they're like, sharks in bloody water. And, and then all these ones were calling and, and it's like, oh, let me just come up because everybody wants to come here. It's beautiful. So they all want to come up from Seattle. They're like, let me come up and I'll bring you lunch. And so we did like 2 appointments like that. And then I told them, I'm like, no more. I cannot take an hour out of my time to look at something I'm not going to buy. Like that's madness. Yeah.
The free lunch isn't worth it.
No, it's fun. Like it's fun. The stuff they're showing us is super cool, but it's like, I can't add another service line right now. Like I can't even think about adding on anything else. Like we have decided nothing else until June at the very earliest.
Right. So you need to learn how to just say no. Saying yes to everyone is the number one step on how to just burn yourself out because your brain's going to be going everywhere. But as a successful business owner, oftentimes saying no is more profitable than saying yes. A successful business is built on saying 90 no's and 1 yes. Okay. You need to just focus in on what you're doing right now, and everything else going on around you is just static and a distraction. Right. Mm-hmm. I think just you saying no will probably free up probably 10 to 12 hours a week out of your time. Easy. Just say no.
That would be super. Yeah.
Right. So ask yourself, is what this person's asking me, is this going to produce income for me? Is this actual income generating activity? If it's not, you say no. Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now you've already hired staff, right?
Yeah. I've got my front desk and then a master esthetician.
Okay. So the front desk has been there for how long now?
Since the beginning of January.
Beginning of January. So, oh hell, only like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. She's
Oh,
learning.
wow.
This is her first office job. So she's learning. Smart cookie. But,
Okay.
it's a very different environment.
So then this person should easily offload 10 to 20 hours a week off you. Easy. Hopefully more, right?
That's my hope.
So what tasks are you wanting her to basically take off your plate? Like, I mean, you kind of what she's doing, but like, have you written down specifically what you want her to do?
No, that is a really good idea. What I've been doing is every day when I do something and I think I don't have to be personally responsible for this, I kind of, jot it down. And then when I think like she's ready to take on something else, I give it to her. But I think, yeah, you're right. Part of my problem is there's so much all the time that I'm not even like fully aware of all the things I do all day. Like a lot of it, I'm just doing it. So it's like, you're right. I probably do need to like think it through, think my day through and give her things.
Yeah. So what I want you to do then is over the next week, just go buy a little notebook or something. Okay. And over the next week, while you're going around the clinic doing your thing and you find yourself doing this non-income generating work, this busy work. Okay. What I want you to do is essentially write down what you're doing and why you're doing it. Okay. This is how a procedure is created. This is how a system is developed. This is why, in my opinion, buying a policies and procedures manual is a waste of money and time, because how you work is going to be how different than that person who wrote that manual is going to work.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Right. That's why policies and procedures are just like, I think just buying them, I don't understand that. Like your procedure is different. So you're basically writing a procedure essentially. And it might sound daunting, but it's really not. Just write it down in a notebook over a week. And then what you'll do is you'll just give it to her. Like, this is how it's done. Or you just type it out and then give it to her. There's a little bit of upfront work to it, but then guess what you have? You have
time.
You have time too, but you have a front desk procedural manual.
Yeah, that is a great idea. I had not really thought about doing that. Perfect.
Yeah. If you do that, now she has like a training name to know what to do. When this happens, you do this. You know what I mean? This plus this equals, this is what you do. Kind of stuff like that. Just very, very 1 + 1 = 2 kind of stuff. Simple.
Yeah, that is a great idea.
And you'll just list out what her job duties are basically. And I'll tell you, once they get it down, your life will improve tenfold. Every single medical assistant I hired at my men's health practice, we have 4 of them. Each one I hired, my life improved exponentially.
Yes, just having her answer the phones was,
right.
Oh my gosh, because when people can call me directly, and that's something else I'm weaning my patients off of, because they've gotten used to emailing me, calling me. And so I've started telling them, like, you have to schedule time with me. For one thing, I'm not going to do a free follow-up on the phone with you.
Nope.
I mean, let's say it nicer than that, of course. But, It's like, I don't have the time for that. And if I don't schedule time, what happens is that I get a note like so-and-so wants something. And 2 weeks later, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't deal with that because it's not on my schedule. It's not on my radar,
Right. You completely forget about it. I'm completely guilty of that too. All of us are. And your brain's all over the place, I mean, how can you remember this stuff? So yeah, you're gonna have to have a policy in place too that patients just can't do that. You need to stop giving these people your number. I mean, when I first got started, I did the exact same thing, true concierge kind of thing. You can text me, you can email me, whatever. But, after a year or so, I was like, I got to stop doing this. I can't be everything for everyone.
Right. So, well, fortunately, I never did give them my cell. So, it's
good.
just the clinic they're calling, but I always answered the phone. So they knew that they could just call with every little question that they had. And I mean, I'm talking like, how much vitamin D did you want me to take? I mean, it's like, oh my God, you're killing me now.
Yeah, you can't do that. That'll drive you crazy. And that's honestly a recipe for building a business that you'll never be able to grow and scale. You can't scale something like that. You just can't.
No, it's untenable for sure.
Yeah. And, and if you hire other NPs and you really grow this and stuff, you need to have these systems kind of worked out, these procedures and just real basic kind of policy kind of stuff,
Yeah, you're right. Because our 3-year plan is to build from the ground up, like a whole med spa with, everything, chiropractic, midwife, all that kind of stuff. So you're absolutely right. If I don't get this in that time, then it'll just be even worse.
It'll be even worse. It'll be just kind of where you're at. You're going to max out at a certain income level. You know what I mean? Like you'll have a really, really hard time ever getting past, probably like that $100,000 a month market revenue. You'll have a very, very hard time. Okay. The
Oh, yeah.
difference between someone who operates a 6-figure or very, very low 7-figure business, like, 1 million, 1.2 million a year, no more than that. But for the majority of people who have high 6-figure practices, which is what you have now, the difference between them and the ones that make 5 million a year are that they have systems in place that streamline things. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
It's the only way, and it's the only way to give back your life, because right now you are the business and you have to get out of that mindset. You have to start giving stuff to other people. Now, is she a medical assistant or just reception kind of administrative stuff?
She's a CNA.
Can
Yeah.
CNAs in Washington draw blood?
No, she had. Well, if she goes to a phlebotomy course, she could. So,
Well, that would be
that's our
money.
next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be money well spent,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's definitely, we talked to her about that when we hired her, and she's fine with that. So we just have to find a program to send her to, which, I tasked her with. And so, yeah.
I think hiring CNAs or even medical assistants, even for basically to function as everything in your practice, is the best way to go. I never hire non-clinical people, even for front desk reception. Everyone I have is a medical assistant because they can draw labs, they can do vitals. You know what I mean? Like they're
Right.
multifunctional.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. And also, I wanted her to understand HIPAA, and there's a big difference. There's a big knowledge gap if you have not worked in medicine before.
Yes. Huge gap. And you don't have time training someone for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want anything to ever get back to me because everybody in this town talks and, that would be awful.
Yeah. No, absolutely. For sure. Yeah. I mean, you have a reputation here. It's extremely important. All right. I hope everyone's enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick break to thank everyone listening and also give a big thank you to all of my social media followers and email subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our email list at www.elitenp.com and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Email subscribers will receive updates on new weekly podcast episodes, multiple weekly articles we publish, new courses, and everything else related to helping you succeed. Remember, all elite nurse practitioner courses are designed to help you build a niche practice, increase your financial strength, and to break free from the rat race. If I can break free and the other countless nurse practitioners can break free, then so can you. Additionally, please share this podcast with your other nurse practitioner sisters and brothers out there. The more NPs that venture out on their own, the stronger our profession will become. Now, let's get back to the episode. And that Medicare credentialing thing, my opinion, my advice to you is to put a hard stop on that. You're opted out of Medicare right now?
No, I'm not opted. My side hustle was doing Medicare home assessments, but I've pretty much stopped doing that because clearly I don't have time.
Right.
So I haven't opted out yet, and so that's why I was like, well, I guess I could take it. I have some patients that they want their spouses to come in, and I've told them they're not going to want to use Medicare. I've negotiated my price for labs. So I do a great, very comprehensive panel for $247. Medicare is $1,800 if they even pay for it at all. And then they're not going to pay for pellets. They're not going to pay for gut health. So really, it's my consultation that they're going to pay for. And I'm sorry, $100 is not the end of the world. If it is, then I'm sorry. I'm probably not the provider for you.
Exactly. Getting that patient on board for them to save $100 is not going to be worth the amount of headaches and time it's going to take to deal with that. When you start getting insurance in there, you're going to have to start dealing with claim submissions, chart audits. You want to do that? You really?
I hadn't even thought about that. And, and Chloe and I have talked about that because I'm right now I just give people their super bill, or she just gives them their super bill. And it's here you go. And in fact, we have a disclaimer on our intake that I will give you what you need for your insurance. I will do my best to code it, but I will not deal with your insurance company.
There you go.
Because I don't want to. And so I said, we're going to have to be sending in these claims and we'll have to be better about our coding. Cause truthfully, I Google things what should I code for this? And it's that's not going to cut it if I'm doing actual Medicare reimbursement.
Yeah, no. Put a hard stop on that right now. Don't do it.
Yeah, I
Don't.
think you're probably right about that.
Yeah,
Well, this is
it's gonna.
very timely because we're right to the point of taking it. So I'm
Yeah,
super glad
no.
I talked to you.
Don't sign that contract. Don't. It's going to decrease your freedom. I would just avoid doing it. You have a profitable practice as is. Why complicate it further? So, in terms of offloading some work right now, so I want you to tell me very briefly in percentages off the top of your head here. Break down the percentage of time spent on activities and tasks in your business, starting with the highest percentage down to the lowest percentage. And it doesn't have to be super accurate here, but just off the
Right.
top of your head.
I would say, my number one time is with patients, which is as it should be.
Should be.
But I would say right behind that is meetings of a variety of natures. Obviously, when we're starting a line, that takes time. But then I also meet with our marketing person every other week. And then we also have to make content. And so if these things are important, I got to do it. But that is very time consuming. And now Caitlin, who's my partner, she manages all of that. Like she literally just grabs me and is like, here, talk about this. And I'm like, okay. Like, so I don't have to think about it a lot, but I do have to be available for it. And all of that takes time. So I would say that's probably number two. And then behind that is just a whole bunch of stupid tasks of things. I couldn't even probably tell you what all they are. They're just
Right.
ordering things. Like I do all the own ordering, which that's something I need to give to Chloe, but
Absolutely.
it's so important to me, especially right now, because, like gloves just jumped from $5 a box to $50 a box. So
Right.
I'm not going to pay $50 a box, but she doesn't have that knowledge to know, like, that's ridiculous. Don't do that. Go to another supplier. And so, I'm hesitant to give up this stuff. The saline flushes, ridiculous. It's like, no, I ordered them from Amazon today. I'm like, that's insane. But I wouldn't expect her to keep looking at different sources, and so it's like I have this mental block with, like, I have to run my business. I can't just spend copious amounts of money because I didn't control it. But at the same time, I also can't control every aspect. So,
My medical assistant, so the guy that I hired for my men's health practice, the first medical assistant I hired, he's still with me, 3.5 years later. And he's basically my office manager now. I just told him, I was like, dude, you're my office manager now. Like, right. I haven't ordered anything for that clinic in probably 2 years. He does it all. You just have to give her that task and tell her, listen, use these 4 suppliers, McKesson, Henry Schein, Amazon, whatever it may be. Okay. Shop around for these things. She will then get a good idea of general costs and whatnot. And within a month, she should be able to understand kind of, okay, wow, boxes of gloves over here are $50, but on here they're 10,
Yeah, and she's really smart. So yeah, she'll get
right,
it.
Right.
Yeah.
She'll get it. Trust her to do that.
Okay.
You saving $20 on a box of gloves. How much time did it take you to shop around for a box of gloves to save $20? Is that worth your time to save $20?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it. I really do.
Just trust her to do it. She might make a few mistakes. Okay, fine. You're out $150. Big deal. It's not the end of the world. You were able to have dinner with your family for 2 or 3 hours and didn't have work on your mind. Is that not worth $150 to you?
Yeah. Good point. Totally good point. Yeah.
It's like sometimes you have to just let go and realize that, okay, they're going to make some mistakes, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's just some money. It's not the end of the world. And you're not pinching pennies here. I mean, you're doing $40,000 a month in revenue, right?
Right. It's just, yes, we are doing well. It's just Caitlin and I have not started getting paid yet because every time, of course, we start a service line, I don't know if you've ever bought from Allergan, but it's ridiculous. Starting our facials, we're just dumping money into this stuff, just hand over fist. And so, we're finally getting to the point where we need to get paid too.
Sure.
Up until now, I've been very conscious. It's like, I've got to have these $10,000 orders, these $15,000 orders. I need to make sure that money is there. So you're absolutely right. Now we've gone past that point. I got to let it go. Like I'm not in the crunch time like that now.
Let it go. You did the right thing though. I didn't pay myself a dime from my practices for a long time. I reinvested everything back into the business. That's why you're making $40,000 a month in revenue now. Now it's time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You have everything here. Now it's time to just sit back and just start doing what you love doing, the functional medicine, the aesthetics, actually seeing patients, right?
Yeah,
And
that
so
is the part I love.
right. So now you're going to start finding some more time just developing. I guarantee it. The amount of time that you're spending seeing patients, right, is probably what, 50% easy? I mean, you said you're working 90 hours a week. How many hours out of that are you actually face to face with a patient?
You're right. Out of that, so this week we had 37 patients come in. So not all consultations. So realistically, I'm looking at probably about 28 hours of actual face-to-face patient time.
Okay. 28 hours of face-to-face time. How much time is now spent on charting?
It just really depends on that. Like the initial one does take a while. It, really depends what I'm doing for them. Sometimes it's like 30 minutes. Sometimes it's just quick 5. Yeah. So, but I would say, if I'm spending, 25 hours seeing patients, I'm probably spending 5 charting would probably be realistic.
That's not bad. All right. So you just include that into it. So you're spending 30 to 33 hours a week, patient care and charting, right? Now, where's the other 40 hours going?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's, I look at my schedule this week and it's, I had 3 gut health meetings. So I've got to do that. It's like I'm learning this stuff. I can't
Sure.
charge patients for this thing and not know what I'm talking about. So I got to do that. But that was 3 hours, and then I probably, when I'm looking at my schedule, I had 10 meetings this week. And that's ridiculous. 3 of them were microbiome. 10. Yeah. And 3 of them were patient care related. Perfectly fine. That's what I got to do. One of them was my marketing meeting. The other ones were stuff.
Like what kind of stuff? Like,
I had to set pricing with our esthetician. So, we had to make up the menus and then set the pricing. And then, of course, I had to make sure, our pricing that we're making money on each of these products. We had to do our initial order. I had to, make sure that we could pay for it first and that everything we were ordering was actually something we were going to use. So, that's really time consuming. And then as well as then we had to redo our signage out front, which I had to order. I gave most of that to Chloe to do. And then we've got to redo our brochures. And then stuff like that. Which once I do it, I don't have to do it again. But
I was getting ready to say this is a lot of working on your business activities, and this is kind of what you got to do when you first get started. Yeah, I really think a lot of this is just going to work itself out on its own in just a matter of a couple months. Like you're building the service lines, you're building what it is that you're doing, you're building out the pricing, you're building out the marketing. Like once this stuff is built out, it's done and it just needs tweaked every once in a while, right?
Right. And I think what's been happening is ever since we started with injectables, we have added something new almost every month. And that is what's been killing me, so I'm pretty much done. I don't need to add anything else unless I find some exciting new therapy that I must offer. But I think for me personally, I'm done changing my practice, and then for Caitlin, I was like, okay, if you need to add any more pedio threads, whatever else, obviously we're not going to do anything else with aesthetics. We've got a full line of all of that. This summer, I want to start doing rehydration IV. And on the weekends, but I don't want to do it myself. So,
I mean, that would complement it. Okay. No doubt about it for sure. Mm-hmm. But do you get shiny object syndrome? Like, do you see something and you're just like, oh, I kind of want to do that now. I got to have it. I want to implement that in the business now.
A little bit, but also I see opportunity. So there is nobody else in this town that does what we do. And so there is not another med spa. So I want to do these things ahead of everybody else. And because it is a small town and people come in and, they started seeing me for functional med and then they started seeing Caitlin and they're really excited and they're telling everybody, obviously, which is great. So then I want them, as these new people come in, I want to be like, yes, and we can also do this and this and this for you. Sure. All the things that you want, you can do here so that they get used to that idea. So yes, I did it all really quickly, way quicker than I wanted to, but there was a reason for it.
Sure. But that's good though. It's done now. So this is a challenge that I have for you. Put a break on it for now.
Yes.
Put a break on it for now. Your patients will tell you kind of what they want. Okay. They read online, they watch videos, they know what's out there. A lot of them do. Okay. When they start requesting some certain things, keep your ears out for it. Maybe stick to just 2 to 4 new service lines a year right now. Okay. You already have the foundation. You have the majority of it. You're making $40,000 a month. Now it's basically do what you do best, which is what you're doing now, and increase the patient volume, right? And that's how you're going to increase the income. So maybe put a break on that just for the time being. So that way you're not spending so much time in so many meetings and doing all this kind of stuff. But I mean, I don't want you to completely stop doing that. I think maybe just put the brakes on just a little bit and just give it a little time. Give it 3 to 6 months. And it's kind of like what you're doing now, just kind of see what happens. Let it unfold and then rework things. Because one thing you might integrate now might be kind of a total bust. You're like, man, that was kind of a waste of money. That didn't really pan out. Scrap it and do something else. That's kind of what I do with my men's health practice. So just maybe put a break on that. So I just challenge you to maybe put a break on that, learn what you got now, and then be done with it. Another challenge I have for you is to set limits here. You're still working on your business, but like I said, I think you're that point where this will work itself out in the next 1 to 3 months, probably. Okay. Especially once you start training, your front desk person. And so what I want you to do is I want you to start setting some hard limits here. Once you're done working on your business, I mean, you're always going to be working on it, but not to the extent you're doing now. And so what you'll do is hard limit. 5 o'clock comes, you stop, or 6 o'clock, you stop. You are done. Okay. If you have to schedule patients out, if you have to add another 15, 20 minutes so you can finish your charting per patient, so be it. Do it. All right. You'll just build this out in your brain and in your practice to where, okay, it's 5 o'clock. I'm done now. And you're going to make it work.
Okay.
Do it just for a couple weeks. I think you'll stand back and you'll see that the clinic's not falling apart. You're not losing income. Things are probably growing faster than you expected because now your mind is fresh. You can think of things that truly will start building income in your, in your practice. So I think that maybe just do it for a couple weeks, challenge yourself with it, and you'll find what's important and what's not. You're like, I don't have to work on that right now. That's really not that important. There's some things in my practice I've pushed off for 3 to 6 months because it's just really not that important. It's not generating income in my life.
Right. I have a whole pile of things on the side of my desk that are important, but not urgent. And it's so big. I'm like, you know what? I bet some of those things have become urgent.
Probably. Why don't you just set aside 1 to 2 hours a week to deal with that kind of stuff? I think you have to just give yourself more or less like a salaried position where these are the hours you work and you're done. Like think about how the government works. Like a lot of these government jobs at 5 o'clock, you better be out of here. Like they want you.
Right.
You know what I mean? We don't want you 1 minute early. You're here at 9, not a minute early. And so challenge yourself to do that. Set yourself at 50 hours a week now. Let's just slowly titrate it down. You're at 90 now, maybe 80 for a couple of weeks, 70, 60, 50. And then maybe hit that 45 mark and see if you can make it work once the other people start taking.
We can extubate me. I'll be fine.
Right. Exactly. I think you'll be fine here. And I really think a lot of this is going to work out on its own in the next couple months. I really do. Well, do you have any other questions or anything? I mean, has this been helpful? You want to talk about anything else?
God, no, this has been so helpful. You have been so helpful. I took a travel contract at the beginning of last year so that I could make a bunch of money and live on it. And that's when I found you. And I would just print off all your articles and read them and, in like the downtime. And you have been like so incredibly helpful to me. And I just like so appreciate you being out there and just like helping your fellow brothers and sisters. That's so awesome of you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm just happy it's helped. I'm happy that I've been a part of your success. I mean, just hearing you go from nothing to 40,000 a month it's pretty amazing. Like that's really, really cool, especially in 9 months. Wow. What a story.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's pretty nice. And to be doing what I love, that is the coolest part of all. I walk into this clinic every morning and this is my dream. Like, and to actually be helping people be well, not throwing something on top of it and sending them out into the world, but making them, they're accountable for their health. Like it's so exciting to me to come in here every day.
Good for you. I applaud you. I really do. That's super awesome. I mean, you're doing what you love and you're making some good money. And I mean, there's no question in my mind, this will be $100,000 a month practice in a year. I guarantee it will be.
Well, I am excited about that.
Yeah. And then you're going to have another entire list of problems you're going to have to address. So then we'll have another phone call. So, yeah.
There we go. Sounds good.
Yeah. You're going to have to be hiring some other NPs to see patients for you. And you're going to have just tax problems. You're going to have all types of issues. More money, more problems. It's the truth. But yeah.
Yeah, that is true for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, though, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I am all good, but thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I like to end the episodes with you asking me a question. You have a question for me?
Okay, let me think. Well, I guess, I know a little bit what inspired you. You advise people to get out of restricted practice states, but I guess how did you go from, I'm assuming you were probably an ER nurse, yeah?
ER and home health, actually, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So how did you make that jump? And did you know this was what you wanted to do? And like your men's health, all of that, is that what you wanted to do? Or did you think
No.
you wanted something else?
I really had no clue, So I went into nursing school with the ultimate goal of becoming a nurse practitioner. Always did. All right. That was always my goal. I got my first degree in biology, chemistry, and business, actually. Surprisingly
Okay.
enough. Yeah. I really didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to go dental school, medical school, pharmacy school. I was 22 years old. I was just a punk kid. Right. So yeah. And then I did the accelerated BSN and then, with thoughts on, working as an RN and then going to nurse practitioner school. So that's what I did. But once I graduated NP school, or once I was getting ready to graduate NP school, I was just so worried about even just finding a job that I didn't really care. I kind of just took whatever I could get. So I started working in urgent care, and then I started working at the ER because that's kind of where I came from as an RN. And I also did a lot of home health too. But in my mind, I always knew I wanted to be some sort of business owner. I always knew I wanted to be something important. There was always a calling in my soul, in my mind. I was like, I've always been somewhat of a leader, always since I was a kid. I've always strived for success, doing really, really important things. And I think I really came to the realization as a nurse practitioner that, this is a ceiling. There is a ceiling being an employed nurse practitioner. You will hit a point and you will never get above that point. You never
absolutely.
will. You never will.
Yeah.
Right. You are a blue collar, you're an educated blue collar worker, basically. You really are. There's a ceiling and you can't get past that ceiling. You get little raises here and there, that kind of stuff. The only way you get past that ceiling is if you go in administration. I don't want to do that. Yeah. And so I was in an ER one day, working a shift as a nurse practitioner, busy ER. And I was just looking around. I was looking at the docs, the PAs, the other nurse practitioners, the RNs. And I was just like, everyone here, this is it. This is it for them. There's no more. It made me depressed. I remember going home, just laying on the couch, just depressed. I was like, God, I can't do this for 30 years. Are you kidding me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, I had to start a business. I got to do something. And then that's kind of just, and then over a period of a few years, I'm here. Men's health was just kind of one of those things that I went fishing with a buddy one day and he was talking about some men's health. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And I was just like, well, let's just do it. So
whoa, good for you. I have to tell you too, you talked about finding interesting advertising ideas. It was a couple months ago. I think you wrote a blog about it. And it was about men's health, specifically cactus and things like that. So we're going to launch.
Limp cactus and the erect cactus. Yeah.
So we're going to put ads up in the golf course. It's like, are you, whatever you do with woods, I don't golf, but are you playing with a broken wood and show a broken wood?
There you go.
So that came directly from your blog. I was like, oh, that'll be funny.
Listen, when you get that ad, you better email that to me. I want to see that.
I will.
That's hilarious. I guarantee you it'll
put
work.
It right above the urinals.
Yes, put it right above the urinals. I tell you, that works. It works. So yeah. Anyways, though. Well, do you have any other questions for me?
No, I don't. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope this helped. And if you want to do another episode here in about 6 to 12 months, follow up, just shoot me an email, let me know.
I definitely would. That would be great.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, listen, I appreciate your time.
You too. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye. I hope everyone enjoyed that conversation with Amanda. She is operating a very successful functional medicine practice. Within 9 months, she's making $40,000 a month in revenue, which is really, really impressive in just 9 months. It really is. She has a bunch of different service lines, HRT, aesthetics, IV infusion, all kinds of different stuff from a functional medicine approach. So she's doing really, really well, but she has absolutely no time. So you need to remember, when you first start a business, you are going to lack time. You are going to sacrifice a lot of your personal life to get this business up and running, okay? That is a fact. There's very, very little ways to get around that. There are little ways you can get around that, okay? You have to. You will sacrifice time with family. You will sacrifice time with friends, right? So you need to accept that fact. But After a year or so, it pays off. She's getting to that point. I am confident that within 3 months, she will start getting back her life, okay? She's been working on her business and she's been working in her business for almost a year now, but it will pay off, okay? She's hiring staff and she will get more and more hours back in her life. And before she knows it, in 2 or 3 years, she could probably be working 20, 30 hours a week and having other people work for her. So the big thing I want you to take away from this is that you need to develop systems in your business from the get-go. Buying a policies and procedures manual is fine. You use it as a template, but you just can't take that into your practice and just start going. Everyone's practice is going to function somewhat differently. And so she's at the point now where she needs to start developing these systems. She needs to start writing these procedures for her staff. And what this does is that it transfers work from her to her staff. That is how you delegate work and offload tasks in your business. That's how you gain back your time. I was very similar position with my men's health clinic, working my ass off. Now, I'm not joking you, I maybe work 6 hours a week at my men's health practice because I've delegated all my work to everyone else. I wrote procedures and they do it all for me. It's fantastic, but it took many years to get there. And Amanda will get there too in time. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If anyone wants to be a guest, please email me, theelitemp@elitemp.com. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you leave good feedback. Give us a good rating. I would definitely appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to the show. Quick legal disclaimer. The content of this podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as legal, financial, medical, regulatory, or practice-specific advice. For information pertaining to your specific legal, financial, medical, or practice-specific needs, please be sure to consult with your lawyer, CPA, medical director, and/or your state's practice laws and the most up-to-date clinical guidelines. As always, do your due diligence when it comes to any information found online and in podcasts. The content in this podcast is copyrighted by Galaxy Medical Southwest 2022 and cannot be duplicated, rebroadcasted, or reproduced without our written permission.